Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I had a couple updates for Jasmy that I wanted to go over. As we've talked about on the past couple Jasmy videos, there hasn't been a ton of movement within the Jasmy ecosystem recently, just because they're out building, right? Well, here we see they've built, and now we've actually got some really good news that their Janction AI platform is actually live now. And so we're going to go in and kind of do a little bit of like looking into that and how that's turning out so far, looking into the chart, a lot of that type of stuff. So anyway, let's go on ahead and dive right in. Now, starting out, I wanted to take a look at crypto bubbles just to get a good sense of kind of where the overall market is. And we can see that the overall market is actually up pretty decent today. You know, it's been a pretty green day overall. We can see Jasmy here. It's actually right behind my picture, but it's up 0.95%. So obviously, you know, it's not up like to the same magnitude that a lot of the rest of the top gainers are in the market, but you know, it's not the end of the world. I think overall a lot of the retail interest in Jasmy has actually died down a pretty substantial amount. Obviously, you know, it remains to be seen if that retail interest will continue to pick back up. I do think it will, especially if, you know, they continue to ship product and the product actually continues to grow and do relatively well. I do think that there is that possibility. Going in and looking, one stat that I did actually want to point to that we have talked about a couple of times before in the channel is we are officially back in Bitcoin season. We could see that there was a point in time where we did actually start to move up kind of more towards the neutral area, but we have kind of come back down and we are in Bitcoin season just because honestly, the market overall has been doing pretty well, but the majority of kind of the momentum, interest, price action, a lot of that stuff, but volume, all this is on Bitcoin right now. The Bitcoin chart has been looking really well. Actually, let's go look at Bitcoin real quick, and then we'll come back to Jasmy. The Bitcoin chart, we can see, you know, that we have actually broken, depending on, you know, whether we use my regression line or, you know, maybe this trend line that could have been more of a line of best fit. Bitcoin has broken above both of those. And so, you know, we have officially, at least at this point, it seems that we have broken and closed out of this descending channel that we are in. And so, you know, this is obviously really good news. And we could be seeing a move, you know, up to 75, 80, 90, 100, you know, on and on all the way up for Bitcoin. So this is looking really good. We can see those. We are getting very close to overbought on the day chart. So it really would not be all too surprising to me if we did start to kind of pull back a little bit back down into this channel. I do think we will break out of this at some point, but I do think we need the RSI to maybe cool off just a little bit. But again, you know, I don't know what's going to happen probably any more than you do. This is just kind of my thought or my assumption based on kind of what we're seeing. Now, going back to Jasmy, I did want to take a quick look at the chart and see kind of what the price is doing. We can see we did have this descending wedge. We broke out of the descending wedge, did actually relatively decent, but then we've kind of come back down and settled back on this line of support. We can see, you know, we've kind of been struggling between this level of support and resistance right here. Price is compacted a pretty decent bit. Volume has kind of continued to be relatively low. And so overall, you know, I think just a lot of like retail interest, frankly, has left Jasmy. You can also, if you want to go back and look through the views on my Jasmy videos, you can see that consistently I've gotten consistently fewer views than what I was even just a month or two ago when prices were even still struggling kind of in this area. There was still more interest kind of within Jasmy. Again, you know, it's kind of my opinion that I don't think negative price action actually kills interest. I think no price action kills interest. I think people would rather watch their bags get wrecked than watch their bags do nothing for an extended period of time, which is kind of funny if you ask me, but it's just kind of based on what I'm seeing, that kind of seems to be the case. I do think there will be a point, you know, at which we do see retail interest come back. I mean, we can look here, you know, retail interest came back, boom. Retail interest came back, boom. I mean, so when it happens, it can happen really quickly. And we can see, you know, even here, there was a long period of relatively consolidated price movement. Here, a long period of relatively consolidated price movement. Here, relatively decent bit of time of consolidated price movement. So we could realistically see a pretty decent move to the upside. But when that's going to happen, you know, obviously nobody knows for sure. Now, the next and last thing that I want to take a look at today is the Junction platform. It is now actually live, which is really good news. And so I wanted to essentially just take kind of a quick look through this, see what we're looking at. How does the website look? How does it feel? What are some of the things that they've got going on? All that type of stuff. And so what we can see, you know, obviously the website itself looks pretty clean. Like I'm relatively impressed with it. It kind of gives a pretty good like sense of how they're building, what they're doing. We get, the team here. Overall, things are looking pretty like professional from that perspective. One thing that, as I've been kind of venturing through and looking at the Junction site, I've not seen any mention of the Jasmy coin. And so I'm a little bit like, maybe not concerned, but a little bit maybe confused, or have some questions as to maybe what their plans are as far as integrating like the Jasmy coin into the Janction platform, if that even is in the plan, if so how, like a lot of that type of stuff. And so, also what we can see is kind of the nodes that are on the Janction platform. They've ran almost 160 compute hours. There's 36 total nodes, but only 5 are live. So we haven't seen a ton of onboarding onto the system yet, which, given that it's like less than a week old, I don't think is like necessarily really like all that big of a deal. But this is something that we will want to be keeping an eye on as things kind of develop. We do need to see, obviously, total nodes continue to go up, live nodes being kind of a higher percentage of total nodes, and then compute hours. Obviously, this is what people are wanting all these nodes for, is the compute hours. And so the demand for compute hours, I think, is something else that we'll really need to see. So overall, they kind of provide a breakdown of what operating system they're running, stuff like that, which is interesting. Overall, like I said, a pretty good overview of the network, what they're doing, how they're doing it, a lot of that type of stuff. Like I said, kind of the biggest thing that I've seen so far, or I guess I should say haven't seen so far, is really any mention of how this kind of works within like the Jasmy ecosystem. That is something that, in my opinion, is a kind of lingering question that we do kind of need an answer for, because I think a lot of people were, at least I personally was, and maybe if you guys weren't, feel free to kind of mention this in the comments section, but I was at least expecting kind of Jasmy and Janction to be at least a little bit more kind of combined, and have that partnership at least be a little bit more clear and kind of well publicized. At least so far, it appears that that's not the case, and so we kind of need to figure out what exactly is the case going forward there, because I do think there are a lot of people who are going to want to know kind of how that it's going to work out. And also, there's a lot of people who I would imagine have probably invested into Jasmy kind of with the assumption that Janction was a part of this. And so if that's not the case, I do think that will hurt price action, because people who will have invested in Jasmy for Janction will probably just dump the coin, and then that might create some panic selling, and you know how it goes, it's crypto. So anyway, that's kind of the thing that I'm looking at right now. Overall, I'm hoping that that's not the case. But overall, they're shipping product. This is good. Tokenomics and everything like that aside, they do actually have a product that is out, that is live, that is working, that is onboarded some nodes. Hopefully they continue to onboard some of like the demand side. So, I think if you stimulate demand, then the supply will take care of itself. I think the demand is probably more of the issue than the supply. So, I'm interested to see kind of how they tackle some of those issues and how it develops over the next couple months. I will say, just purely from like a crypto cycle and timing the narratives and that type of stuff, this is kind of coming at a pretty great time. They're in a pretty strong position. They're set up pretty well to succeed if they want to. And I think there's going to be a lot of flexibility for them in terms of if this does continue to take off, they can really kind of push that narrative, and obviously, price appreciation should really follow from that. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe. It really does help me out. I am continuing to try to get pushed to more people in the YouTube algorithm, particularly, with Jasmy and Janction and some of these smaller things. I do think that, these are some hidden gems that more people might benefit from seeing. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, feedback, whatever, anything like that, please do leave me a comment. I try to read and respond to all of them. And so if that's something that you are wanting to do, I do really appreciate it. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.